chat. Okay. Good evening. I'm Noreen Dollard. I'm with the Florida Policy Institute, one of the sponsoring organizations of the Pints for a Purpose May Day action that we commenced on May 1st. I welcome you to the transportation edition. As you remember, at the event on May 1st, we all said, these are the issues that are important to me. And then we categorized all those issues into different different groups, including transportation. So I'm very pleased that tonight we have Emily Hinsdale extraordinaire, I am told, and she is a local expert on transportation and is going to share now a little bit about herself and what projects, and then we're I'm gonna let her talk for 25-30 minutes, and then we will take questions. So we don't want to leave you out. So make little notes to yourself or put it in the chat. And when she concludes, we'll start some conversation. So let's see, share my screen. All right, are we seeing that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, take it away, Emily.
Great. Thank you all so much for having me. I do hesitate to call myself a transportation expert because I want to be clear, I am not an engineer and I'm not an urban planner. I have dug into transportation world pretty heavily in our area, so I will share with you what I know and areas that I would like to find out more and hope that you will join me in pursuing those. So my name, as Noreen mentioned, is Emily Hinsdale. I am the president of Sidewalk Stompers, which is a walk to school nonprofit organization. I'm on the board of directors for Walk Bike Tampa. I'm on the Hillsborough Transportation Planning Organization's Livable Roadways Committee. I'm on the Florida Department of Transportation District 7 Community Traffic Safety Team, where as long as I can say that twice, I am still the vice chair. I'm part of the League of Women Voters of Hillsborough and Pasco County's Transportation Action Group. I'm on the Advisory Council for Hillsborough County's School Routes Safety Improvements Project, and also on the Advisory Council for the City of Tampa and TPO School Safety Study. So a lot of names, just demonstrating how enthusiastic I get about anything that has anything remotely transportation related. Next slide, Noreen. So these are the questions that were shared with me that you would be interested in pursuing. My focus and my area of greatest expertise is going to be school transportation, but that's something that's obviously impacted by a wide variety of different transportation needs in our area. So we're going to touch on all of those issues, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to run through my slides because there's just so many meetings where people ask questions in the middle and you're like, but that's my next slide. So I'm going to do this presentation first, and then I'm hoping we're going to come back to various slides, various topics, and have more of a discussion on it. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is how I am going to start with the big question. Are you a NIMBY or a YIMBY? Are you not in my backyard? Are you yes in my backyard? A lot of these big issues of development, transit, transportation, there are different sides to them. And while you may have one position that's very important to you, being able to successfully advocate in this area does require us to look at different people's backgrounds and different people's needs. That's my favorite cartoon of why we have so much school transportation, because we all have to drive. But there's a lot of important topics that we need to think about as we are going into different transportation issues. Some people want to live in apartments. Some people want a single family home. No one is right or wrong on that. Those are their feelings. I want more affordable housing, but the schools around roads near me are already too full. Is that not in my backyard? Is that accurate? Those are things we have to consider. I want less traffic, but I had to drive my child to a magnet or charter or private school because my neighborhood public school is not providing what they need. Everybody's child is going to have specific needs and specific situations, and you live in certain areas that either work or don't work for your kid, it's going to affect transportation in our area. And one of the big ones, I want safer roads, but I don't want a longer commute time. Commuting is listed as the highest stress for adults. This is the thing that drives us the most nuts, not each other, it's our commute. But without that, when we start getting safer roads, it does tend to slow traffic down. As traffic volumes have gone up in the Tampa Bay area, the number of fatalities on our roads have gone down. So where do we land in that? Next slide, please. So I see this as two different directions that we can go with our advocacy. We can talk about shifting laws, changing regulations, how different government organizations function and approach our issues related to transportation. But equally important is shifting culture. As I was just talking about, everybody coming at this from their different backgrounds, their different needs. Sometimes what we really need to do is raise ideas and raise awareness of what will work in our area. And until you've seen it, you don't know. So we're going to talk both about shifting laws and about different ways to shift cultures. And I'm going to go through each of these topics I have listed here. So don't worry, I will come back to all of these many bullet points. Next slide, please. All right, so starting with advocacy. I do want to start with state level advocacy. These are some big challenging topics. Many of these issues have large lobbying groups for or against them. You can join in with the lobbying groups. You can fight the large lobbying groups. You can go to your specific electeds in your area on the state level. But I tried to pull together some areas where I think we can really make some changes and really get some movement kind of across the aisle. School bus funding. As I think probably most of you know, school buses in Florida are only funded if student homes are more than 2 miles from the school. This leaves out a lot of our neighborhood elementary schools and a lot of middle schoolers who are then expected to walk or bike or have their parents drive them. As we know, this is not always a realistic situation for families. Sometimes there are difficult roads to cross. And that's where the hazardous roadways classification comes in. The hazardous roadways classification isn't just us saying, wow, that road is seriously hazardous. It's scary. I wouldn't cross that. It's a very specific state designation. 50 miles per hour or more, 6 lanes or more, and a separation between the roadway and the travel lane. There is a bill right now that the House and Senate have passed and is awaiting the governor's signature to update that a little bit. But here's the problem with it. It doesn't come with any funding. And it acknowledges in the bill that this is something that would then be something that local districts have to fund. If you have more students able to get a bus because they are crossing a hazardous roadway because the designation has changed, the district will have to be providing that bus, and that will be more expensive. So I would be very interested in seeing from the state level specific funding for school buses in our school districts addressing the hazardous roadways classification changes. Another bill that we saw recently come through was the school zone speed camera funding. The school zone speed camera bill that permitted local jurisdictions to enact ordinances that would allow school zone speed cameras, which is a very roundabout way of pursuing it, which is why it's such a roundabout way for me to say it. But what this does mean is that we can have school zone speed cameras in our area. These, again, do not come with funding. So any local government, any law enforcement agency that decides to put these into effect does have to foot the bill. And while the tickets can eventually pay for some of it, there is the huge issue of manpower in processing these tickets. This is, something we've seen with the school bus cameras of, yeah, there's a ton of people getting tickets and hopefully a lot of people learning the school bus passing rules, but it takes so much time and so much effort for people to go through and look at those. This is even more because there would ultimately be more school zones with these cameras. So My feeling, and this is what I have heard from local electeds, that part of why we have been slow to get some of the school zone speed cameras in the Tampa Bay area is because of the expense. That some elected officials are hesitant to put funding toward this without knowing, is it something that people are going to accept or not? So that's another funding item, kind of a theme with education. Last item, walk bike education curriculum. This is something that different states, different cities around the country offer within the schools. They make a curriculum teaching kids pedestrian safety rules. And in some places, they even teach them how to ride a bike. And they will have practice areas where the kids practice on a course that has stop signs and crosswalks, and they learn how to ride the bike and they learn how to walk through these different safety obstacles to make sure that they know how to do it. And it's just part of your PE education, just like they are doing soccer or football or pickleball or whatever they are learning in their PE classroom. They are learning this. And some places offer it solely in the elementary level, others offer it also at the middle school level. One of my favorite models is in Minnesota, where statewide they also offer it at the high school level, and they can call it pre-driver education. This is something that we do not offer in Florida. We do have some health organizations that will partner with a school and come in and teach for an hour about bike ped safety, but it's not really something that we're using to teach our children properly. I've put some existing organizations in a list here. I'm hoping that these slides will be shared with you after this talk, but I thought these would be useful for you to see organizations that are already working towards some of these ideas and look at what you can do to get involved with them. Next slide, please. All right, county level, getting more specific to Hillsborough. We have our different agencies involved in the county transportation system. The Board of County Commissioners. These are our local elected officials that we need to advocate. We need to push for better funding options to cover things like our transit situation. Some transit funding comes from federal government. Some of it does not. Some of it comes from our local agencies. And we need more support from our Board of County Commissioners if we really want to advance in the area of transit. And they tend to hear from the same group of advocates over and over again, rather than getting the idea that maybe there's a larger interest out there. Another area where they can get involved is adjusting development fees and requirements. Our new communities and developments, including multimodal needs like sidewalks, bike lanes, and transit lanes in their plans. Some are, and that's great. Some are not, and that's something that we should be expecting our county commissioners to push them to do. Do these plans connect with existing infrastructure? This is something we particularly are seeing in the more rural areas of our county that are developing right now, that it'll be a fabulous neighborhood put up with wonderful sidewalks and bike lanes and just great ways to get around within the community, but it does not connect to even the school next door. So people still do not have a way to get into and out of their neighborhoods. We've had a lot of battles over transportation funding in our county. Federal grants that we have been relying on may or may not be something that we can rely on in the future. Taxes have not worked out thus far. Hopefully we will eventually have some county commissioners who will be interested in supporting a further transportation tax that might help fund things like our transit system. All right, so some of the good news that is going on is coming out of our county public works. I mentioned in my bio that I'm on the advisory council for their school route safety improvement project. This is the county's effort to go schools by school around the county to improve walk bike safety pathways to these schools. They've started with the schools that they feel are the most at risk, schools that have a walking population, but have dangerous pathways for students to get there, schools in otherwise disadvantaged areas where families may not have access to different forms of transportation. But it is a slow project. They are doing about 6 to 9 schools per year, which doesn't really cover much when we have 300 plus public schools in our county. And this does not include any of the city schools. So I would love to see that kind of funding push. That'd be, again, something to approach with both the Public Works and the Board of County Commissioners on increasing the Safe Routes to School project funding so they can do more per year. Another overlap with our transportation and especially with our schools are the federal Safe Streets for All grants that the county has recently won. Where we are in that process is a little bit unknown right now with some of the changes at the federal level. So I cannot comment too much about what we are to expect from that. Hopefully that will be clear as we go forward. The last county level agency that I wanted to talk about was the Transportation Planning Organization, the TPO. This is a really great opportunity for community members to get involved in some of the longer term planning, and for that matter, short term planning for transportation projects in our city. There is the large Planning Commission board, but there are also different Planning Commission committees that can help advise on many of and allow citizens to advise on different plans that are going forward. So there's I have them listed by their initials here, but there's the Bike Pedestrian Committee, there's the Citizen Action Committee, there's the Livable Roadways Committee. If you go to the planhillsboro.org website, all of these committees have agendas listed. They have their meeting schedule, and the meetings are online. They are also recorded. So this is a great way to learn what's going on. And if you wish, there's always a public comment section. So it's a good way for community members to participate. One of the other ways that community members can participate is in the TIP. This is the Transportation Improvement Program. And this is the system by which we identify which road projects are going to be going forward in the next 5 years. So these are longer range planning, it's 5 years. And there's a lot of our plans and how we intend to do things will be done through the TIP. The TIP is coming up very soon for approval by the TPO board, and there will be opportunities for communities to engage on what they would like to see in the TIP. A lot of it is controlled. These are federal funds, so this is a lot of controlled by what the federal government wants to fund. A lot of it's controlled by what the state wants to fund, but there is some mobility there for local governments to affect how money is going to be put into our roadways. And again, I've listed some sources for information ideas there, some great organizations that are doing this work and where you can find out about different projects. Next slide, please. City level advocacy. In the county, we have our 3 cities. They have city councils and they have the mayor's office and staff for each of these different different jurisdictions. Things that we can ask for at the city council level: support for bus funding. This is something that the Tampa City Council has gotten involved with and pushed for funding one of HART's bus routes. And they did that this year, and they have just secured funding to do that again next year and are looking to expand that. That would be something that would be great to see in other areas as well. Support for transportation funding. Yes, the budget comes out of the mayor's office, and yes, the city council can influence where that budget is going to go. They can make changes, they can make adjustments, they can use monies in different ways. HART is a good example of that. That bus route came out of the budget, changing something that had been a line item to a different line item. We would love to see increasing funds for sidewalks. That's something the city council in Tampa has been working on this year. It'd be great to see in other areas. Responsible resurfacing programs. Most elected officials will tell you that the biggest complaint that they get is that the roads are in terrible shape, which is true. but we would like to see not just roads resurfaced, but when they are resurfaced, repainted, redesigned to make them safer roads. There's different opportunities to find a voice in larger development. You can find different groups that you agree or disagree with. I've listed two of the big ones here. The Tampa Homeowners Association of Neighborhoods. Oops, and I misspelled association, sorry. And YIMBY Tampa. Kind of two different approaches in some ways to development, one more of a neighborhood focus, one more of a community-wide focus. Both have some great ideas and both will hopefully come up with something in the middle, but you can learn from both organizations. Oh, you know what I skipped over is something I really love seeing coming out of Temple Terrace. And that was a city council level bike and pedestrian action committee that they have at the city council level, a group that is focused solely on improving bike and pedestrian access to the city of Temple Terrace. That'd be something that other cities within the county can also look for. And then if we want to take a look at what the mayor's office and staff, what we might ask them for, support for transportation funding, same thing as city council. Please put money to sidewalks, responsible resurfacing programs. And then another one that I put in here that is best done from that agency level perspective is parking as safety. Parked cars tend to slow traffic. Parked cars can be used to protect bike lanes, and changing how we use parking, not just as a way to store cars, but as a way to improve our road safety, is a great long-term goal for all of our cities. Something I would love to see out of all of our cities, especially Tampa, which has the most schools of any of the cities, is a safe routes to school coordinator. This is something that a lot of different cities around the country have. We have a Vision Zero coordinator in the city that works on safety projects for our city. Safe routes to school would focus specifically on improving safe school routes. And that's something that is a real deficit currently in our city governments. Next slide, please. All right, so school level advocacy. This is probably the area where I believe this group is most familiar. This is also the area where I think we need the most work and is the most achievable work. When we come to look at a school, we need to look at including a walk bike plan for our students. We look at transportation plans, we outline where the car line's going, we outline where the buses go. Walking and biking tends to be a little bit of an afterthought at the district level. It doesn't always take into consideration where the students are crossing through the car line, which is obviously not desirable, putting a sidewalk in conflict with a car line. It also often doesn't have suitable entrances that walkers will need to go to a back door or a side gate that involves them walking extra several blocks, or even just 100 feet is something they're less likely to do. So that is something that if we have somebody at the district level who is more focused on walking and biking needs specifically, I think we'll see a lot of improvement for the safety of our children with that kind of transportation. Something I hear a lot from different administrators around the district when they come into a school new, the new principal, they're all excited to make changes, improve the school. They get a lot of advice in the district level of different ways they can approach that. They have district coaches that will help them figure out how to be the best new principal they can be. They do not do a terrific job in advising on how to do arrival dismissal planning. Sometimes they are left to try to figure out walk bike entrances on their own. And if they're not familiar with the school, that's a heavy lift. They don't know the history, they don't know the patterns, they don't know the neighborhood, so they don't know where it's best to go in and out. And I think that would be a wonderful thing to advocate for, is to have better walk bike advice for our administrators as they're coming into the school. And even if they've been there for a while, it's quite possible they drive to the school in the morning, they park their cars, they go into the school, and that's their entire engagement with the neighborhood. Curriculum, I mentioned before, looking at this at the state level. This is also something we can look at the local level. We do have a lot of great area hospital groups that can come in and do afternoons, hours, class periods, weeks of walk bike training for kids, teaching them different safety things. But the schools have to ask for it. They can't come in and just force it upon them, much as I would love them to. So, in educating our schools that they can ask for these things, telling them where they can find out about this information and how they can get this even brief curriculum included in their day. And then there are PE teachers out there who are open to including walk bike education in their school curriculum. Any flexibility they have, they might be willing to pull that in, and it'd be helpful to have them know about the different agencies that can teach them how to do that. So I've listed some of my favorites that I work with: More Health, John Hopkins All Children's, Baycare Kids, and then I love to look at the work done by the National Safe Routes Partnership and Walk, Bike, and Roll to School. And then the Florida Bicycle Association also offers some education opportunities. So it's out there. We just need to help schools understand that they can reach it. Next slide, please. All right, so those were all the big legal advocacy. The human level advocacy is a lot more fun. We get to do events, we get to be with kids, we get to be with people walking and biking, we get to be out in the community. So ways that we can shift the culture around walking and biking in our area. We can work with organizations that promote road safety and community connectivity. We can hold community events like road projects, national events. I included a picture here of one of my favorite things to do is go out and paint the road. It really brings people together and changes the perception of a street. Media events. These also connect with national events like National Walk to School Day, like World Car Free Day. It's a great way to get, if you invite the media, to get some of your local leaders to show up. As you can see in my pictures here, we have a district superintendent and we have a school board member. You tell them there's going to be an event and they're part of it, and it's a great way to get them to start thinking about how this matters for our community. Next slide, please. I will really briefly talk to you about my organization, because this is one of the organizations that is working on shifting the cultural approach to walking and biking. We are a nonprofit founded here in Hillsborough County. And I have all of our big words here, but our main thing that we are trying to do is get more kids walking and biking to school. We provide incentives and different programs to encourage children to walk and bike to school. We provide the funding and we provide the partnership for any school in Hillsborough County that wants to engage in a walk bike to school program. Our goal is to reset children's health and safety with a simple first step: a walk to school. Next slide, please. Why we push this, and this is what we share with different schools that we partner with around the area: physical health, mental health, community health. And these all tie into the reasons that we are having this meeting at all. These are the things that affect our entire community: our children's health and the health of anybody in our community. We need to be active. We need to get some of the lousy air away from our schools and our congested neighborhoods. We need to improve our mental health by getting out of our cars. I told you commutes were scary. If we're out and walking and biking, it's a more positive commute. And then community health: if you are out of your car and connecting with other people, you are building a community. If you're in your car, you are not. It's really hard to make a friend from sitting behind a wheel. In fact, we usually do the opposite. Next slide, please. So that's what Sidewalk Stompers is doing to shift culture. We have had some success with that. We also like our partner organization, Walk Bike Tampa. Walk Bike Tampa's big event every year, they hold several all year, but the big one is World Car Free Day. And the Critical Mass Ride is a part of that. World Car Free Day is, as the name suggests, an international event. This fall will be the third year we'll be holding it in Tampa. It has grown significantly each year, and it's an opportunity for people in Tampa Bay to get out and experience walking and biking in our community. sometimes just learning that it's doable makes it a lot more appealing and makes the advocacy a little easier once people have actually tried it. That is also the idea behind the Kiddical Mass Ride, is getting kids out experiencing urban cycling. They ride together through downtown Tampa from one event site to another and learn how to follow the rules of the road as a bicyclist. Next slide, please. National events, I mentioned National Walk to School Day has grown tremendously in our area in the last few years. I'm excited to see it grow again this year, hopefully without a hurricane to mess it up. Next slide, please. That's it. Okay, so that's my contact information for my organization. But I would really love now to have further, just like to stop listening to my voice and have further discussion about any of the topics I've brought up. So please ask away. Let
Yeah,
me know what I missed.
and I think we're small enough. We don't have to raise hands or anything. We could just unmute ourselves. You could just unmute yourself and ask any questions. There are none in the chat at the moment.
Well, I'll ask about, I don't have a question about the school stuff because I'm pretty up on that, but I get a lot of things from the county about the tip planning. It's tip, right? Is that what you said? And it's a little overwhelming, the amount of information that they give you. So do you have a recommendation on where to start if you want to try to follow what they're doing there and advocate there?
It's super confusing because they have the LRTP, the long range transportation planning plan. They have the tip, they have the priority list, and sorting out which is very difficult. Very shortly, and I wish I had the link in front of me, but I don't right now. The tip will be available for public comment before the board votes to move it forward. And the tip will have specific projects that you can like or dislike, and you will be able to weigh in on that. There is not always a ton of leeway for our local TPO to affect that. They only have control over a portion of that. But that is your opportunity to get involved with it. The priority list is a little different. It includes some of the projects on the tip, but also projects that are already underway. So the tip will be projects that are supposed to be for the next 5 years. And the priority list is projects that are underway coming up. I don't know, did that make any sense?
So if they have a public hearing, will they do a summary of the things that are in it that are impacting that neighborhood where they're holding it? Do you know
I'm
how
not
those
quite
would
sure
run?
how they will
Okay.
do their neighborhood level public hearings. I doubt they would specify it specifically.
Okay.
They will have a map that shows
Okay.
all of the different, and they're divided into different categories. There's like major projects, there's resurfacing projects, there's Vision Zero projects, and you can see they do them by color, so you can see by color which projects are in your area and pick out which ones you're concerned about, which ones might affect you, and decide whether you think those are good ones or not. They don't get terribly detailed as to exactly what it will include. Like it won't say we're adding a 6-foot sidewalk to this road specifically. They tend to be more, we're making improvements to this corridor. Now, some get a little bit more specific, but a lot of them are not planned already because there's something they're looking to plan in the next 5 years with that funding in place. And it is a plan to pursue funding. It doesn't mean everything necessarily gets funding.
Hey, Emily, it's Christine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
What a fabulous presentation. I came in a little bit late. I was going to ask you a question, but before I do, I will say in response to Teresa, the TIP process and the projects that are reflected in it, as you say, I could not agree more. It's very confusing and difficult to hang on to throughout the entire process. However, one easy way to try to brace it in digestible pieces would be to check those agendas you suggested on the Plan Hillsborough website, because the tip is in development and will soon be presented to the TPO board. But each of those committees you listed will get a tip review. And so anyone can go and watch those videos from those meetings. And I especially appreciate that you can watch YouTube videos at an accelerated pace. So you might be able to get a full tip review in maybe 20 or 30 minutes and take your own notes and questions versus sitting for an hour and a half at an in-person meeting. So just those little nuggets. It's really hard. You do have to really be committed to searching for those links and those videos, but they're out there, and that's a good way to absorb information. I do that sometimes for different projects I want to see more than once after I've been in a committee meeting. My question to you, Emily, was how many schools do you have now in Tampa that you're working with as sidewalk stompers?
Um, in Tampa, I'm not sure I could tell you off the top of my head. We are countywide. I believe it's around 12 in Tampa. But countywide, we are 18 to 20. We had some that we had been partnering with that had trouble after the hurricanes, but I still consider them a partner. So it's 18 to 20 that we regularly have walking programs in, and then an additional 25 to 30 that we advise on periodically.
Well done.
But we are also always open to more.
I have a
And
question.
just to add to Christine's point about the tip, I actually listened to a presentation at it this morning at the Livable Roadways Committee meeting. So if you do want to go check out that video, will probably be posted sometime this week or maybe next week. That'd be a good one. It was a very good presentation on it.
Are there neighborhoods in the county that you consider to be really on top of it in terms of getting more walkable, uh, bikeable, that they're more walkable or bikeable, that people could sort of, you know, check it out and say, oh, this is what we're striving for as part of their, learning process?
I think the Seminole Heights, the Old Seminole Heights Neighborhood Association, has a very heavy, strong walk bike improvement focus. They've had success in some places, failures in others, but they're both interesting to learn from. Seminole Heights in general, the South Seminole Heights Civic Association has a good history with that as well. Those would be the ones that I have seen really make some changes and move things along.
Thank you. That's where I live. I'll have to check it out.
I know. I thought you'd be happy to hear that.
Yes, yes, because there are some very scary streets here, as there
There
are.
are. And I have not, but no neighborhood association has gotten a full cure and fixed it all for their area.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
some have more experience in advocating for themselves than others.
That's good to know. Thank you. Are there other questions for Emily? Mary, feel free to come off mute. You look like you're coming off mute.
I'm really just here to see what I can learn. It's been interesting, that's for sure.
That's great. And so what we are going to do after this is one of 4 or 5 calls or Zoom meetings that we're doing right now, and what the follow-up will be to get out some of these resources for this one that Emily was talking about, and our hope is really, at the May 1st event was to say, what are you interested in? And now it's like, what are actionable things that people in our community can do in order to, in this case, support better walkability, bikeability of our town. So we'll be getting some of these resources that Emily presented, and she can probably give us the the other link she just mentioned about the I think it was the upcoming meeting.
Yeah,
So
the
yeah,
planhillsboro.com is a great resource to find out what's going on all over the county.
great. So we hope that you will take, now that you know a little bit more, that this is a topic that interests you, that you can connect to Emily and her group and be active in that. So
Yes,
that's what we're trying to
I
do.
would love to have people reach out to Sidewalk Stompers to expand. I would love to have people reach out to Walk Bike Tampa to participate in more of the events that we are doing. We're actually celebrating National Bike Month with Walk Bike Tampa tomorrow. We have an event tomorrow night that you can find on the Walk Bike Tampa Facebook page. But when neighborhoods get involved, when different groups get involved, they are really able to make some change. Christine just reminded me of a school that we partnered with recently. It's a neighborhood that hadn't seen a lot of walk bike change in many years. It hadn't had many transportation changes in a lot of years. And then a new school was built right in that neighborhood for 1,100 kids. It's a residential neighborhood bordering a small business corridor. That's a lot of kids to bring into a neighborhood all of the sudden, and a lot of changes for that community. But we partnered with the neighborhood people, some of the parents who were going to the school, some of the people who lived in the neighborhood and were concerned about what would happen. And we were able to work with them to figure out how to advocate for themselves, to add in some sidewalks, some crosswalks, some stop signs, some changes to the roads around that school. And I think that's an example of what we can do when we actually all connect with each other and work on a project together.
I think Octab, you had come off mute in the middle of something that Mary's point. So if you still wanted to, if you still had if you still have a question or comment, please come off mute and please share it. Okay. Um, then let me just so Emily, there's a question in the chat about from someone in St. Johns County who tuned in, and she would like to know if you have any more information about a safe route coordinator role. They've had some very unsafe path issues there because of development and other things, and it seems to her that there's not adequate prevention. So do you have a contact in St. John's, or can you speak to what that person is responsible for so Nancy can follow up with that?
So I don't have a specific contact for that county, although I can look for it. We do not have a great statewide safe routes to school program. Our program is largely about funding for some engineering projects, and it's a very limited amount of funding. Most areas do not have a safe routes to school coordinator. I'm not aware of a safe routes to school coordinator specifically anywhere in Florida. Other places around the country do have that role at a city level or a county level. Some counties will have a specific safe routes to school improvement program. And I don't know whether St. John's does or not. I can see what I can find. But I would look within your public works department to see if they have any kind of program set up. And if they don't, that's certainly something to advocate for. And Hillsborough County's plan, while I wish it were larger, its design, I think, works very well. They set up they go out to a school, they analyze the school, they look at the traffic, they walk around, they talk to the administrator, they talk to parents, families in the area, they look at where kids are walking, and then they develop a tiered approach to what they can do in the school, starting simple, like changing where a car line entrance is, and then getting harder to putting in a sidewalk connection. So I think it's a great program. I wish it were larger, but if you do not have something like that that is being done in your public works department, that's something they could do, and that's a good model to look at.
So I just shared with you the link that Christine put in the chat about Walk Bike Tampa's event tomorrow night. So if you guys want to sign up for that, you can right up until 5:30 tomorrow, according to Christine. So if that floats your boat, you should do that.
And you could let me hear me talk again. I'm going to be talking about sidewalks tomorrow. So you're not tired of listening to me talk yet. You can come back.
What a treat. That's great. Um, let's see. Oh, there's another message. Okay, so Nancy's gonna look in and follow up on your advice, Emily. Thank you.
And please,
Are
like, feel free to reach out to me by email. My contact information was, I think, in the last slide, but also could be provided by this organization through Sidewalk Stompers to.
yeah, hold on a second. Let me get it.
I'm happy to see what I can find out.
One second, I can get it back. This little
You're ahead of me.
there. There. Okay, so oops. What did I do? No, I'm not sharing it all. Hold on.
So that's the
Oh, there we go.
that's our social media, that's our website. And if you want to reach me specifically by email, it's sidewalkstompers@gmail.com.
There you go. So now it'll be part of the record of this meeting. The other thing is that we've been recording these. I'm sure you heard the little voice. And so the Families for Strong Public Schools, one of our partners in this, is going to post them on their YouTube channel so that others who weren't able to join us tonight will have access as well. So there will be definitely follow-up from tonight and from the whole effort overall. So are there any other comments or questions that Emily can address?
I'd just like to say thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out in the evening.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
so much for attending. I'm very excited that other people care as much about transportation as I do.
You make a compelling case, Emily, I will say. All
Wonderful
right.
job, Emily. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you all. So with that, we will call this to an end. Thank you again, Emily. I learned a lot tonight, and I know others did as well. So, everyone keep an eye on your email. There will be invitations uh, for future gatherings. Next week is going to be education, and there will be one on affordability, another on the environment. So stay tuned. There's still a lot to learn. So keep your eyes on your email, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Noreen.
Thank you.